Welcome back to episode 98 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. As always, I'm here with Troy. What's going on, Troy?
Not too much, Josh. I know you're going to talk about it, but just getting used to the whole YouTube and the video thing.
Feels pretty weird, doesn't it?
It does.
Starting with today's episode 98, we're tiptoeing a little bit deeper into the YouTube pool here. If you're listening, you can't see us, but if you happen to be watching us on YouTube, now you can see our beautiful faces. And here, Troy, everyone thought we had faces for radio, but now we're on YouTube.
No, now it's confirmed that I have a face for radio.
It only took us a year. This has been a goal of ours for a very long time, but we wanted to get, well, I don't know if the word is good at podcasting before we started trying the whole YouTube thing, but it did take us a little while to get our feet wet. And the big thing was editing, because we were not real good at speaking coherently and without using a trillion at the beginning of our show. And so we wanted to work on that a little bit before we got to this point, but happy to be here and getting excited to get ready to go. So yesterday we went to a new card show here in Minnesota called the Minnesota Card Show. Very creative name there. So shout out to those guys. Always good to see new shows. So very happy about that. It was in our little town of Rosemont, which is just north of where we live. Not the same Rosemont as the National, right? So that's kind of a coincidence. We'll be at a different Rosemont soon. And like I said, it's a new show. Very first one. Did not know what to expect. I think there's 100 tables or so. So I don't know, Troy, what does that make it? Is that like a medium-sized show or a small?
I thought for Minnesota it'd be a pretty large show. It was sold out. All 100 tables were bought, I think. And it was packed. You'll mention it, but it was packed.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. It was more than packed.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where it was counterproductive. I mean, great to see a lot of people at the show for the hobby.
Yep.
Definitely love to see that, but it was hard to move around at times. And if you didn't love crowds, maybe you would have had a little bit of an issue, but even hard to squeeze in to get into some tables and see what kind of cards that vendors had. Speaking of the cards, Troy, Minnesota is definitively, and we believe strongly that we are the state of hockey, and we can defend that. We are not, however, the state of hockey cards.
No.
It was sad.
It was bad. It was like maybe one or two tables had a case of hockey. Some tables had spatterings here and there, but it was fully dominated by basketball, football, baseball.
Did you also notice a ton of Pokemon?
Did notice lots of Pokemon. And that's where the kids were getting really good at squeezing into tables, because they can they're not as big as us, and they can squeeze right in and start talking. And of course, my son gravitated towards a luchador mask that he thought he needed, that he was begging for the whole time. He did not get it. He did not need a luchador mask. But
that's something a 12-year-old would, of course, want to have. And it's part of what's amazing about being a kid, because, of course, it's the most nonsensical, irrational, non-utilitarian thing ever to get. But who wouldn't want a luchador mask when you were 12 years old? Yeah, so it was pretty bad from a hockey card perspective. Like you said, I think I saw maybe 4 tables with hockey, but again, out of 100, that's 4% in the state of hockey. Not real great there. A lot of it, too, is very vanilla, so a lot of modern young guns. But we did see a really cool hockey card, though.
We did.
And one I had never seen in person, and that was a 2020 Kaprizov Young Guns acetate, which, as we know, are a super short print. I think this one was graded. Wasn't it graded to like BGS 8.5?
Yep,
something
8.5.
like that. So it was cool to see that. I made a trade that I'll chat later about in personal pickups, but if anyone thinks the hobby's dying, prices might be down, but it's definitely not dying, because this show was packed here in our little town of Minnesota. So again, that was great to see. All right, we have a big announcement from our friends at Second String Leather Company. They are continuing to clear out inventory to make room for that new collection that they keep dropping hints about. Remember, they had that mysterious Ottinger picture that they posted to their Instagram that got Troy all excited last week.
I got happy when I saw that.
Yeah. What they've done is they put their gear wallets made from goalie equipment on what I would call like a super sale for 55% off. So they want to get rid of all the ones that they've created. Essentially, remember, these are one of one, almost art pieces Like, I'm very dainty with my Vasilevsky second string wallet. Here we go, right here. Right, love it. Love the puck marks in it and everything. But because they're working with us, they've also given us a promo code that is Gongshow15, so GONGSHOW15, where you can save an additional 15%. So if you've ever wanted a wallet made from NHL goalie equipment or a blocker, pads, glove, you can basically get one now, Troy, for 70% off. That's crazy.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. So head to secondstringleather.com. And if you get one, we posted the deal in our Gong Show. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and a bunch of people picked them up. Go ahead and message us on social media and send us pictures because we love to see what you got. Okay. It is episode 98. That means no, this isn't a math show, but let's see, if today is episode 98, that means Thursday would be episode 99. And given, Troy, how our greatest player to wear the jersey number of our episode has been going lately, I feel a little less confident assuming who we're going to be honoring next. But I will go out on a limb and say that I'm sure our next episode will be our Gretzky episode.
Yep.
We do have lots of exciting plans and kind of plan to dedicate the whole episode to Gretzky, or as much of it as we can. We're also going to have our friend and special guest, Jeremy Lee. You ever heard of Jeremy, Troy?
I have heard of Jeremy. Jeremy's been a fantastic friend of the show.
Yeah. Well, he's agreed to share his knowledge with us and the collecting community, and he's going to be doing a masterclass on the Wayne Gretzky rookie card. So yeah, masterclass returns for next Thursday's show. Very excited. Cannot wait for it. And then lastly, before we get started, Troy, just a reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on the support of listeners like yourself to help us cover our expenses, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, like jumping off the cliff and doing YouTube video, stuff like that.
Yep.
Help us fund initiative to grow the hobby, even in a small way. Right now, there's still time to join our out of 99 support level tier. It's $5 a month. You can be one of the first 99 supporters of our show if we ever had that title. Join us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server and chat with us daily there. Super easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and there's a become a patron link at the top of the page. You can also go to the Patreon website at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. Or you can go to the show description for the podcast app you're either listening to us on or in YouTube. I believe it's in the YouTube description as well. There should be a link to our Patreon there. And finally, in our TikTok and Instagram profile, there's a link to our Patreon there as well. All right, Troy, that was a big intro for our first video. You ready with the game plan?
I am. We begin our show by looking at the greatest NHL player to wear number 98. Then we take a look at the continued rise of OPC Platinum. Next, we do a little segment on some hobby news. This will be followed by a hockey market recap. Is there a rebound? Is there an off-season dip? What is happening right now? We then look at new product releases, and we finish the show with personal pickups and our mailbag segment. All right, Josh, we are on episode 98. The greatest NHL player to wear number 98 per the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article is not Connor Bedard. I know some people thought it would be him, but he hasn't played yet in the NHL. It's Mikhail Sergachev.
He's played in development camps, Troy.
Bedard, yeah, he has. He has.
Is he the greatest player to ever play in development camps?
I don't know what that question. Didn't the Blackhawks say they weren't doing any on-ice component? I thought George mentioned that in our
I don't know.
Draft thing. So I don't think the Blackhawks were doing any on-ice components yet, or maybe they are, and we just misread. But anyways, Sergachev, he's a defenseman from, and boy, I am not even going to try to say this, Nizhnekamsk. Nizhnekamsk. That's what I'm going to go with. Russia. Sergachev was the 9th overall pick in the 2016 NHL entry draft by the Montreal Canadiens. Sergachev has currently played in 441 regular season games over a current 7-season NHL career. Sergachev started his career playing 1 season for the Montreal Canadiens and has played the last 6 seasons with the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, for his awards and accomplishments, nothing for individual hardware. However, he is a 2-time Stanley Cup winner with Tampa Bay. his stat line for his regular season performance, he has 46 goals, 192 assists for 238 points. He's made the playoffs in 6 of his 7 NHL seasons, compiling 9 goals, 24 assists for 33 points in 98 playoff games played. What stood out to me at that, he's been in the league 7 seasons. I think he's relatively young. I can't remember his age, 26, 27, somewhere in there.
Sure.
He's played 98 playoff games.
Wow.
Just shows you how good Tampa Bay is.
Well, he's been more than a half a point per game guy as a defenseman. So that's pretty good too.
Yep, for sure. So Sergachev has 6 seasons of 30-plus points, all with Tampa Bay. Best season of his career from a point standpoint was his 22-23 season, where Sergachev scored 10 goals, 54 assists for 64 points in 79 games played. So way better than half a point per game this current season. If you need to know a little bio or a little, I don't know what you want to say, skills line about Sergachev, skilled defenseman, skate very well, has a very physical component to his game. When Tampa Bay acquired him, their GM at the time was Steve Yzerman, and he said he saw Sergachev being on a similar trajectory to Victor Hedman, which I think is pretty good person to follow for your career. Head coach John Cooper noted, "I don't think he has a ceiling." So that's another good quote from their management. They were really impressed. He only played, I think, 4 games with Montreal. And then Yzerman kind of spotted him and Cooper spotted him and they started watching him and they're like, we really want this guy. So they went out and made a trade. And it's funny, they said when Yzerman was going to, and I can't remember the OHL team or CHL team, to scout him, he actually would wear a fake mustache and try to hide that he was at the games. I think that's just hilarious.
Is that true?
I don't know. They said no one would confirm it. It was in an Athletic article, but no one would confirm it. But to me, it's hilarious because I always think of Bobby Valentine. He got ejected from the Mets game as the manager, and then he went and sat on the end of the bench with a fake mustache. And of course, the video camera zoomed right in on him. He got suspended, I think. All right, so
they thought he could be as good a defenseman as Hedman.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't compare him on defense to Kucherov or what?
No, they probably knew their own players. They knew Kucherov wasn't a D-man.
Oh, okay.
All right. Sergachev, known for being a fantastic shot blocker, which in today's game truly is a skill. In addition, Sergachev has been a very good top 4 D-man for Tampa Bay. And then I started doing some more reading on him, and we have another story of Tampa Bay identifying a talent that might be struggling, going out and getting him, and then developing his talent into a terrific NHL player. There is something really special about Tampa Bay and their development department. They're obviously one of the best development staffs in the NHL. They get high praise from any GM in the league. And this is just another example of where they took a guy that didn't play a lot in Montreal. He played 4 games, got sent back down, and they wanted him. They developed him, and now he's averaging 24 minutes of ice time per game last year. Pretty good.
Can I ask you a question about shot blocking?
Sure.
What makes a good shot blocker? You're the goalie coach. You're the hockey coach.
Well, you can't be scared of the puck. So youth players, you cannot turn your back. Please do not turn your back. That's where you have no equipment. But it's getting as big as possible. And you'll see some players go in and they might squeeze up. That's not what you want to do. You kind of want your hands down. You want to be as big as you can. And you want to take the shot where you have equipment. So don't turn sideways or anything like that. But it's also being able to read when the shot's coming and where it's coming from. And it truly is a skill. And there's like kind of analytics that are trying to do the advanced stuff on shot blocking now. And they're kind of seeing that it is becoming a skill and it's a good skill to have. And it's something you can work on in youth hockey. Use tennis balls. Get them over being afraid of being hit with a puck. That's the biggest thing. It's like baseball. Kids are afraid it's going to hit them in the face. Well, yeah, you got to get them over that fear.
All right, youth hockey players, earmuffs now. I'm gonna ask a question. It's got to hurt bad, though, at the NHL level, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you take a shot, even goalies, too, when they take shots off their gloves or in the wrong spot, it hurts. And you'll see players now in the NHL, they'll wear skate guards, or they call them, they're like plastic coverings over their skates. Now, I don't know if all of them wear them, but a lot of them do. And, yeah, it hurts. But if you're a good shot blocker, you get to play more. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, another thing about Sergachev, if you read a lot of stuff about him, he's very coachable. turning point in his career is when he went to John Cooper, and I'm such a big John Cooper fan. I think he's a fantastic coach. He asked Cooper what he needs to do to play in all situations and get more ice time. Cooper simply told him to get better on the defensive end and become more physical. And Sergachev took that, did it, and now he's top 4 defenseman. And I wish more high school kids would take this note. Like on our team, we tell them, if you need to talk to us about playing time, it's not your parents that talk to us, it's you. You come to us, you ask why, tell us what you think you do well. And it's just another thing for people to know out there and kids that play hockey. Hey, you can ask the coach. They'll always give you advice. They want to help you. Their goal is not to bury you on the bench. So if you can figure out what you need to do to get more playing time, go for it.
I think a lot of kids too don't want to, and I get it, they don't want to accept the fact that every team has roles on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a guy like Sergachev to be more physical and be a better defenseman
Yep.
is not like, every team can't have 12 guys scoring Michigan goals every game.
Exactly it. They talked about he's an offensive skill set. He's got great offensive skills. They didn't need that right then. They needed him to play D and be more physical. And it's worked out. Worked out great. All right. Fun, interesting facts for Mr. Sergachev. On October 19th, 2017, Sergachev scored his first and second NHL goals against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The 2 goals made Sergachev the youngest Lightning defenseman and second youngest Russian-born defenseman to record a multi-goal game.
Wow.
Interesting. During his 2017-18 season with Tampa Bay, Sergachev recorded 5 game-winning goals, which made him only the 4th rookie defenseman in NHL history to score 5 game-winning goals in their rookie season. On April 21st, 2018, Sergachev recorded his first career playoff goal in a 3-1 series clinching win over the New Jersey Devils. With this goal, he became the youngest player in Lightning history to record a playoff goal. That's his fun facts. They're all kind of related to how young he was. For his rookie card, I didn't bring this up. I should have had an image, Josh. This is one place I have failed. Next time, I'll have an image of this card. But it's a 2016-17 Upper Deck Young Guns, number 236. PSA 10 has a pop count of 142, gem rate of 55%. Last sale on eBay.com via verified through TerraPeak was $55 on May 31st of this year. There was also a last sale on eBay.ca for $47.78 USD on June 10th. Probably what you would expected. You probably could have guessed pretty well what his value was going to be. If you're a fan or a Tampa Bay fan, go get it. You can get it cheap.
No offense to Sergachev here, but kind of slim pickings at number 98. Like, do you remember who the
Brian Lawton? Brian Lawton was the runner-up. The North Stars, and our greatest disappointment, I guess, the North Stars drafted him number 1 overall. And I think they passed up Pat LaFontaine, if I remember who the next person was. Or
that says a lot to say the greatest Minnesota disappointment, because that's
now Brian Lawton became a really good. He's a player agent now, I think, or he was.
Okay, 2021-22 OPC Platinum has been one of the most anticipated releases of the year. We're now just, I think, less than 3 weeks since the product came out on June 21st, and we're already seeing a ton of collector interest in the set and activity on secondary markets. So, Troy, according to Card Ladder, there's already been over 2,000 sales of cards on the secondary markets, primarily on eBay, of course. And as we track lots of record sales and key first-time sales on our social media posts, we've definitely noticed, I think, over the past year that there's been a lot of buzz around OPC Platinum. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely agree. They're just watching breaks. A lot of people were fired up when they finally were able to break OPC Platinum. I still see it getting broke all the time. So yeah, and we heard it from tons of people, even the mailbag questions back then. When's OPC Platinum coming out? When's OPC Platinum coming out? A lot of excitement around it. Well, now it's out.
So I've been thinking over the last couple of weeks about the most important hockey sets. And I think that you kind of have to correlate those to what we have long considered really the 3 most important hockey cards. So you have the Young Guns, the Future Watch Auto from SP Authentic, and then the Cup RPA. So that would make the flagship products. I guess we'll lump Series 1 and Series 2 together for that reason. SP Authentic, and the Cup is probably the three most important sets. But then the next kind of question that I've been noodling is, would OPG Platinum be that next most important set, or number four? That's basically my hypothesis. And so I wanted to look and do some research and try to see if it really is as important as I think it is. And I guess before we get into the data that I found, maybe it's important that we define the criteria for what we consider to be an important hockey set or an important hockey release. So I would say, Troy, it's a set that's highly anticipated, where collectors are vocal in their excitement. Definitely the case with Platinum. Since you just mentioned, since we started our show a year ago, we've consistently heard that collectors talk about their excitement for this release. When's it coming? Why isn't it out
Mhm.
yet? Right. And a lot of anticipation was built. Then I think you need to have one or more identity cards. We've been talking about that a little bit recently too, with some of the sets like Synergy and Trilogy, maybe where they don't have those cards and it makes the sets a little hard to wrap your head around. And with Platinum, right, you have Seismic Gold, you have Orange Checkers, Emerald Surge, Red Prism, Houndstooth cards that are popular. You have
Yep.
Retro, and so I think it definitely has those identity cards. And then lastly, I think you need to have robust and big secondary market sales. And so that was the first thing that I wanted to dig into. And I looked at really the last 3 years at total OPG Platinum sales, and really mainly looking for high end sales. So in the past 12
Mhm.
months, Troy, there's been 90 sales of $1,000 or greater
Hmm.
for OPG Platinum, and 12 sales that are $5,000 or more. If you look at then the year prior to that, so go back at 2 years ago, in the preceding 12 months, there's 57 sales of $1,000 or greater and 8 sales of $5,000 or greater. So really, the high end sales of Platinum have grown by, like, what would that be, 57 to 90? So that would be 40, 50%, 40, 45%, something in that range, I think. So a
I
lot.
mean, yeah, it'd be almost 80,
Oh,
80%.
80%. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Almost 80%. So it's grown a lot. And then going back 3 years ago, so you had 12 sales of $1,000 or more in that year and one sale of 5,000 or greater.
Mhm.
So there's been a definitive increase in the momentum for Platinum, I would say, over the past 3 years. And then I started looking at cards that I guess interest me. And the one that I've been fascinated about, and I probably bring up a lot, is the Seismic Gold. Maybe I'll call
Mhm.
it the sexiest hockey card in the hobby. And I started to think, well, why do I like this card so much? The first reason, it's long and I guess long known and understood that collectors love shiny gold cards. Right? Any established seller will tell you that these are some of the easiest cards to sell, and that's beyond Seismic Gold. So that would be a
Mhm.
Prism Gold, or what are some of the, going back to the late '90s, inserts and parallels that are gold. Anything gold is really easy to sell. I also like the fact that when you're looking at Seismic Gold, that the non-auto is of course out of 50, the auto out of 25, and to me that's a great balance between scarce but still somewhat available. Right, when a card's out of 5, it's like,
Mhm.
great, but you might that card may come up for sale and then maybe not for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and it's the size with gold, right? They're out of 50, and then the
Yeah,
autos
the
out of
Seismic Gold
25.
is
Yep.
50 and the auto out of
Yep.
25. And but it also has to have some sort of premium value too, right? And I think again, that's what makes Seismic Gold a little bit unique, is that typically non-autoed, non-memorabilia cards that are out
Mhm.
of 50 are not going to have a premium value. They're going to, you see, like, I think of like an Artifacts parallel or something like that, right? A rookie out of a Zegras rookie or Caulfield rookie from 2021 out of 75 may have a little, or 49 or 50, whatever they have it out of, may have a little bit of value, but it's not going to be pushing five, six, $700
Yeah.
raw like a lot of the Seismic Golds are. So to look into Seismic Gold a little bit, I was pretty excited to do some research and see what's been going on over the last year or so. And just looking at Seismic Gold, Troy, in the past year, there's been 1,630 Seismic Gold sales on the secondary
Wow.
markets per card ladder. So that includes both the non-auto version out of 50 and auto version out of 25. The biggest sale being 24,000 US dollars for a 2015 McDavid auto out of 25 PSA 9 on June 22nd of this year. I think that's the biggest Seismic Gold sale ever, too.
Hmm.
There's been 20 sales of more than 1,000 US dollars, 63 sales greater than 500 US dollars. And if you compare that to the year prior, there's 21 sales of more than 1,000 year prior, so one less this year, but only 43 at greater than 500 as compared to 63. So again, overall, I think we're seeing growth in the prominence of Seismic Gold. And I just threw this example in there, and there's lots you can go look through, even eBay sales history or 130 point or card ladder, whatever you use. Just as an example, you could have bought a 2014 David Pastrnak rookie Seismic Gold out of 50 PSA 10 in August of 2020. So that was into the pandemic pricing, right?
I think so. Yes.
I think so. For 360 US dollars. Last sale was in June for 1,500.
Wow.
Right. It just shows how much the prominence of these have grown. I also spent some time looking at like total sales for the hobby elite. So thinking of McDavid, McCarr, Matthews, Hughes, etc. And if you look at the non-auto, or if you look at all non-auto, no patch cards that are not super short print, like a Young Guns acetate or something like that
Mhm.
would be, I could only really find two cards that again don't have an auto, don't have memorabilia, that are serial numbered, but not out of like five, right? So Seismic Gold out of 50 and the platinum or from OPG Platinum and the Upper Deck Ice Premiers out of 99 that really have any sort of value. Like, and if I miss something, then please message me and let me know. But I think though in this sort of weird subset of the hobby, right, where we equate most of the valuable cards as having autos or having some sort of crazy sick patch, if you're looking for just regular cards that are parallels, essentially numbered parallels, these are the two that seem to drive the most value on the secondary market. And so to test that theory out, it was convenient that both 2021-22 Platinum and Ice released essentially a
Yeah.
week apart last June. And there are some early sales, like for Cole Caulfield. There's a Seismic Gold out of 50 raw that went for 450 US, and then there's been 4 sales of Caulfield's Ice Premiers raw out of 99, ranging from 440 all the way to 810. Right, so it really does show that these two cards are driving a lot of interest in the secondary market, and just in general. When I think of like the Seismic Gold, where I think Ice Premiers is still even a little bit more established, right? Because that goes back to Crosby and Ovechkin, where you can see huge values on a non-auto, non-memorabilia card. I actually still think, Troy, that there's room for the Seismic Gold to grow still.
Mhm.
I can see it continuing to kind of rise up in prominence. But I don't know. Can you think of any other cards that are in like the out of 50 to out of 100 range that don't have an auto or any patch or anything like that that command value on the secondary markets like the Ice Premiers and Seismic Gold do?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, if we did enough research, I could probably find some. But I want to go back to what you're saying about Seismic Gold and the prominence. I think about our Instagram post, and we've had Seismic Gold on there a couple times, and it seems like every time you post, we get more comments,
Yeah.
more likes, more interaction each time, which just kind of shows very, I don't know what the word is, ancillary evidence that I think there is a growing market and people are really responding to Seismic Golds and are figuring them out and really liking them.
Yeah, I think too, if you had like all the time in the world, and you were really good at math, which I'm not, it would be really good to do like a statistical analysis comparison of, because I'd be curious to see if like the Seismic Golds, I don't know if this is the right word, but like over index, like have
Mm,
higher value proportionately to maybe some of their lower serial number cards.
yeah.
I just have a hunch that that might be the case, but I'm definitely, like I said, very bullish on Seismic Gold. The other card that we see all the time is the orange checkers.
Yep.
Right? That's another one that seems to really resonate with people. And orange checkers is a little bit more scarce. So the autos are out of 15, non-auto out of 25. They're going to be spendier, of course, as they're more limited. In the past year, Troy, we've seen 11 sales, more than $1,000 US, and 29 sales more than 500. The year before, there were 3 sales at $1,000 or more and 16 sales at $500 or greater. So again, here orange checkers is growing too. One of the theories that I heard recently, I think it was on another podcast, that has been making me think about the whole colored parallel thing, is that these people were saying, I think they were talking primarily about baseball, so not hockey, but I assume it would be transferable to hockey too, is that purple and green parallels don't sell as well as other colors. Have you ever heard
Hmm.
that?
I have not heard that, but I'd be curious what the reasoning is.
Yeah, maybe think of the Emerald Surge, which
Yeah.
is going even one step down or more scarce from orange checkers. I think those are out of 10. I don't know if there's an auto, but I know the non-auto versions out of 10. So yeah, if anyone has any information on that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on orange and green parallels as well. And then the last kind of card I want to mention out of platinum is just something for you guys to think about, is there's a sneaky ton of value to the red prism. So of
Hmm.
all the cards we've talked about, the red prism has a little bit higher print run, and it's changed over the years. This is where Upper Deck has kind of tinkered with the serial numbers a little bit. The non-auto is now at a 199 and the auto's at a 60. If you go and do a search like on Card Ladder for Platinum Red Prism, one key to note with Upper Deck's Red Prism is it's not spelled like Panini Prism, where Panini Prism is
Yeah.
Prizm. The Red Prism and Platinum is Prism. You'll be surprised. Like there's McDavid's that have sold way over 10,000.
Wow. I didn't
Those
know
would be
that.
the autos, and I think they were out of 50 at the time, but
Hmm.
still, it's one of those cards too that it. And I think that you can find deals on players that you're hunting, whether it be on ComC at times or on eBay or other selling platforms for Red Prism, and they just tend to be sneaky valuable on the secondary market. So those are ones that I would look into as well. So yeah, a lot of momentum around platinum. The big bummer, of course, and I'm kind of holding up for the camera here, is the centering issues. Here's my Cole Caulfield I just pulled.
Yeah,
That
that
has
is.
about 98 centering.
Yeah, that's bad.
So hopefully that doesn't hurt the platinum market a little bit in the short term. But I don't know about you, Troy. I just feel like that there's still, the train hasn't completely left the station on getting on
Hmm.
the platinum bandwagon. There's still potentially room for it to grow. And
Yep.
it's one of the sets that I would put there right up with the biggest sets in the hobby. Do you have some overall thoughts on platinum?
No, I actually really like platinum. It took a while to grow on me. I wasn't a fan at first, and maybe I just didn't study them enough. But once I started looking at it, and I started looking at the shiny cards, like you said, we get
Hmm.
drawn to the shiny stuff. And now I've probably purchased 10 seismic golds in the past 6 months. And obviously I'll show one that I purchased in my personal pickups. But yeah, I really like OPC Platinum. Now we can talk about what you just showed. We'll talk about that later with some of the quality stuff we're seeing and how it's been pretty bad, I think, with this release. But I do like the set. And I always like that you get a guaranteed auto in a box. That's always a big thing I like. But yeah, I really like OPG Platinum.
It makes you think about Allure too, because a platinum had a very slow burn where it's taken a while for it to really grow in prominence in the hobby. And I wonder if Allure is on the same, because Allure kind of falls in the same
Yeah.
class of shiny cards. I don't know if it'll ever have the cachet that Platinum has, but you
Yeah,
never know.
Allure I think is a bigger uphill challenge. Like I bought a lot of Allure when not the last set came out.
2020, we
And
bought a lot.
yeah, I bought a lot of Allure and I liked it, but I go back and look at them and I'm just like they didn't grow on me like I thought they would. There's some goofy like the leopard and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think are kind of interesting. Now, I will say this, not hockey related, but Marvel Allure just came out and Billy actually mentioned it on our show, and I really like the look of those
Okay.
Allure cards. I think they did a fantastic job on the Marvel Allure set. But hopefully we'll see what the next iteration of Allure Hockey is when that comes out.
Okay, we want to make a quick mention for Slab Sharks. They are a Gongshow partner and sponsor, and of course, want to thank them for sponsoring our show. Every week, they have amazing hockey cards in their eBay auction. Troy, you've basically become a Slab Shark addict to this point.
I think so. I bought, was it two or three in the last auction? I can't remember.
I think you're single-handedly trying to grow their business.
Well, don't say we don't use our spot. I use it. Like use my personal money and buy stuff on there. So
maybe Karn and Crew over there will like send you an award or something like that. Like biggest spender, Troy from like Hockey Cards.
I don't know if I'm the biggest spender, but
yeah. All right. Well, the current Slab Sharks weekly auction is live. Like I said, there's some amazing cards for you and Troy for you to try to outbid Troy, I guess, this week on. I went through the auction this morning and found some cards that really stood out to me. Again, there's a lot of them. We could go on forever. But one of them is the 2006 The Cup honorable numbers, Sidney Crosby, of course, out 87, BGS 910. I just think a really cool looking card and kind of an interesting patch and how it fits in with the numbers. And then, Troy, there's a 2014 SP Authentic Andrea Vasilevsky, a FWAP. It's a FWAP sighting.
Before we go to the FWAP, I have to say this. This is to me the pinnacle of Crosby's signature. That signature is so awesome.
That's ridiculous.
It is just great. All right,
back to the FWAP.
Back to the FWAP.
Could be the worst acronym in all of the hobby, but I kind of like saying it. It's growing on me. Of course, the Future Watch Auto Patch is what FWAP stands for. It's out of 100. It's raw. It's a big cat. It matches my wallet.
I was just going to say, you just want this because it's got the B and the star. I think, is that a Brian glove too? Yeah. Maybe. All right.
Probably, if it's from his rookie year. So that's an amazing card. Then staying on SP Authentic and goalies, there's a Ilya Sorokin Future Watch Auto Black in a tag 8.5 slab. Very cool card. Love the gold autos on black backgrounds. And then how about this one, Troy? Finally, a 2017 The Cup. Bobby Hull, Brett Hull, dual scripted sticks autos out of 15 raw.
That's pretty sweet. I love the signature on Hull's stick.
Yeah.
The one on the wood looks like it might start. It's bleeding a little, but it's still a very cool card.
So be sure to head over to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction, which of course ends this Thursday night. If you are a Canadian hockey cards collector and want to move a card or 2 or 20 for some cold, hard, melty Canadian cash, right? Their plastic money melts, doesn't it? If it gets too hot.
Yeah, if it gets too hot, if you leave it on your, we had a guy tell us he left it on his car dash, and the car got up to like 110 degrees inside, and it just melted the money on top of it.
So if you're looking for more melty money, you should definitely check out Slab Sharks eBay consignment services. They make it super easy to sell your cards, and they're very popular and growing weekly eBay auctions. Because, Troy, they basically do all the work. You just send them your card. They take care of everything else. They even ship to the U.S., making sure that your cards reach the largest buyer pool possible. So go to slabsharks.com for complete consignment information and to start selling your cards. Okay, hobby news. We have another Fanatics announcement. Troy,
I think so. I think we have a Fanatics announcement. So Fanatics Live is going live. Is that our headline? Fanatics Live is going live. Yeah. We think. All right, we've heard about this. Fanatics Live. It's going to be their new breaking platform, but dude, are they also selling singles? I can't figure it out. To me, it's like a hodgepodge of stuff, and they might already had a Fanatics Live previously, and now they're kind of rebranding it. So what happened is the Fanatics Live app has launched in the App Store. I think you could have pre-ordered it, I want to say, which is weird when it's free, but you could have pre-ordered it, and now it's available in the App Store. I think it's only Apple. I couldn't find it in Android. So someone tell me if I totally missed it, but I think it's just Apple right now. So the app is there. And they also have a website. It's www.fanatics.live. And on my screen, for the people watching on YouTube, you can see what it says. Right now, it's you basically, if you want to get early access, you can sign up. I did it. I ran through the process, pretty easy. And eventually, I don't know if you get an email or what happens, but somehow you get told, okay, you're in, sign in, and you're good to go. They also have on the website this little what is breaking video. I kind of cracked up. It's funny, it's cheesy, but it did a good job very quickly explaining what breaking is. But man, it's cheesy. But there's some funny stuff they do with it. So that's all that's really on the website right now. Not a whole lot. Now, what we found out is that the app should be making its debut during this whole MLB All-Star Game festivities. Right now, there is a break planned on July 10th at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. They're calling it the Home Run Derby break because I believe the Home Run Derby is on Monday, July 10th. But at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, they're going to have a break going. And then also on the day of the All-Star Game, on July 11th at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, they're going to have the MLB All-Star Game break. They're calling it that one. I believe Mama Breaks is involved. Another person's involved. I didn't write their name down, but it will be interesting to see. I'm going to try to watch it. I want to see how it looks, how the app, obviously they're going to be gunning for Whatnot. I think that's the big competition out there right now. So we'll see what happens. And then you think about what happens in 2 years when I think Fanatics then has all the 3 major licenses. I think there's still some very interesting things that could develop on how they're going to do product and all that fun stuff. So we don't know what's going to happen. There's probably going to be consolidation, what goes on in the industry, but that's where we're at right now for the Fanatics Live app.
Yeah, so they're slow rolling it like you'd expect, kind of beta testing it out, and they're starting around baseball and the All-Star Game, which makes a lot of sense because right now, with them owning Tops, those are the licenses that they have most direct control over. Have you seen anything about like when it'll be opened up a little bit more or how soon after that?
I thought I saw a news article and I can't remember where it was, but they said by the end of the year, they want to have it fully rolled out.
Okay. Yeah,
Which
so you have to wonder
sense.
when the first hockey break will be. Probably won't be the top priority, but
well, I am actually curious to see if any of the Whatnot breakers we watch, because I watch a lot of breaks, not just hockey. I watch other stuff too. How many of them, like there's gonna be a whole bidding war. I can tell you that they're gonna be trying to hire people or get people to break on their platform. It's gonna be kind of nuts. It's like when Twitch and whatever Microsoft's thing was when they tried to come out with their streaming platform and they hired Ninja or they got Ninja away and all this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see who goes where and how it kind of all shakes out.
was that Mixer? Was that what?
Yeah, I think it was Mixer. Good thing you remember it.
There you go. Okay, a couple other quick stories. We went through the list of big names that still have not signed, so pending or unsigned free agents on last show, and that was Dumba, Patrice Bergeron, Zach Parise, Vladimir Tarasenko, Patty Kane, Johnny Toes. I mean, Taves. Just kidding. Still no movement on any of these guys.
Yeah, it's kind of crickets.
Crickets. So we'll keep you up to date there. And then last thing I wanted to mention, this was a week or so ago, but I saw an article on Sports Collectors Daily Troy where I think a fairly known LCS in the Toronto area have a big presence at the expo. Mint Inc. was the victim of a daylight robbery last week.
Wow.
And I believe their Vaughan locations, maybe not their main location, but their other one, where basically what happened is a bunch of men wearing masks entered the store. One of the employees claimed that they had at least one gun. Thankfully, there weren't any customers in the store at the time, but they ended up forcing the employees into a back room, took a bunch of garbage bags, filled them up with, basically cleaned out the store at that point. So crazy situation. We've seen a lot of LCSs that have had burglaries, but they've tended to be in the middle of the night. And now to be so brazen, to have people come in potentially at gunpoint and rob an LCS is beyond sad. So first of all, we're so glad that nobody was hurt and that all the employees were okay. And then hopefully Mint Inc. is able to recoup, whether it be through insurance or by some miracle, finding their lost products. But have you ever seen that, Troy?
I mean, I've definitely seen it at other places, like retail stores, like Target and Walmart, when they do those flash mobs and they go in and rob them, or people just walk in now and just take stuff because they figure they're not going to waste their time calling the cops and going after them. But this is really brazen with guns in the middle of the day. It's scary. I mean, is a shop going to have to start hiring security during the day, have a guy sit there and make sure everything goes okay? It doesn't surprise me one bit. you got a bunch of high valuable product that's pretty easily accessible in these shops. It's a small product too. It's easy to get out. It's easy to throw it all in a bag and go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, again, just thankfully nobody was
Yeah.
hurt. And
Yep.
actually, I really like the message that Minting put on their Instagram after it happened. They're like, stuff can be replaced, people can't. And they were just again happy as well that all their employees were safe as a result of the experience.
Yeah. There's no being a hero in that situation. Just let them take what they want and let them do whatever and live another day.
Okay, we're going to talk about the market a little bit. And Troy, you're going to have to help me because I got so confused doing this. And I'm going to get into why. Uh, I had every intention in the world, right? Because we're like smack into off-season dip territory here.
Hmm.
And I'd even been thinking, man, we've been so focused on recapping last season that are we late to the game? Should we have been talking about the dip sooner? So when we came to plan this episode, I'm like, we got to start talking about the off-season dip. Yesterday, the day before, sit down on my computer, kind of crack my knuckles, right? Get ready to get into the data. And I start looking at card prices and I'm seeing that like everything's in the green. I'm like, what? How are cards going? How are cards going up at this point? And then I just immediately go look at the Card Ladder Hockey Index, and it's essentially flat over the past month. It's down 0.19%. So again, flat. I'm like, huh? And again, just really confused because as you'd expect, like what's happened we really covered this a lot last summer, that once the hockey season ends, right? Summer starts, everyone's at the beach, you're at the cottage, the cabin, you're going on vacation, doing whatever you do, and there's no hockey games. So hockey becomes a little bit out of sight, out of mind. There's less interest, and naturally, right? Interest fades or dips. So you're not going to have as many buyers looking for a Connor McDavid card in the middle of July as opposed to after he scores 4 goals on some night in November, and the market goes down. But how is the market flat? And then when I started to look at cards, in particular, a number of them were up. But before I get in the cards, I want to stick on the overall market. So in the last month, it's about flat. Hockey is actually down about 5.7% over the past year, which even surprised me a little bit that it's that good too. Now, not that down almost 6% is what anyone would hope for, but man, Troy, when you compare hockey to basketball and football, we could definitely be in a worse spot. So over the past
Yeah.
year, basketball is down. I want to say, what was it, 45% in the past year, or something like that. Football is down 52%. It would not be as fun to do our show if the
No.
hockey market was down 52%. I can tell you that. So then I start to wonder, is there something broken about Card Ladder? Like, is it like not like getting the right hockey data or stuff like that? So I'm like, well, we have market movers. So I'm going to go over to market movers and look at the indexes. And then the indexes I think are down a little bit more in general, but still not terrible over the past year, and then particularly in the last month or two, they seem to have rebounded. A note on market movers, though, that's really important. And I didn't know if you knew this before I told you earlier today, Troy, or not, but
I did not.
I did learn something really important about market movers and how do you put it, like how they determine their card values for their
Yeah.
indexes, is that they use 30-day averages
Hmm.
versus Card Ladder, which uses the last sale. There's, I think, merits to each approach, right? I don't see it as like a right or wrong. Card Ladder is going to give you, I think, a more accurate representation of the now, what's
Yeah.
happening with the card today. But by using the last sale, it's also going to be prone for the data to potentially be skewed or be more volatile with outlier sales. So if a card typically sells for $100, like 10 sales in a row, and then for whatever somebody ends the auction at like 4 in the morning on a Thursday and one sells for 25,
Yeah.
Card Ladder is going to show a 75% drop in value on that card until the next sale rebounds and normalizes it, I guess, at that point. And so you're going to be more prone to the data being skewed by those outlier sales, where Market Mover, I think, would have more stable data, but it's going to give you a more conservative or steady view of a card's value in their indexes. But where you're going to miss there is, like, let's say, now this is probably more applicable in the season, but maybe even to the off-season dip, where a player has an amazing week,
Mm-hmm.
that rise through market movers is going to lag where you would have it in see the kind of the change sooner in card ladder. You're the data scientist guy. Did I explain that right,
Yeah,
Troy?
I think you're great. You're doing fine.
Okay.
I'm not going to write a research paper on it, though. I'll tell you that.
No, I don't want either. Right. So here we got the market's flat over the past month. It's like doing reasonably okay over the past year. We learn a little bit about market movers. Everyone's at the lake, and I'm not finding my cards for the off-season dip. As I mentioned, I'm finding some cards that are up, and I'm going to go through them in a minute. And so,
Yeah.
kind of my first hypothesis here is: did the hockey market maybe bottom out, whether it be like the end of May or early June? Because when you look in card ladder on like various cards, you can kind of see where the they sort of did maybe bottom out around then. And I remember too, this is just perceptively, which is always dangerous, but
Yeah.
thinking around that time when we're kind of approaching the Stanley Cup finals, that man, a lot of stuff was just down. At maybe with the exception of like Kachuk or guys that are playing, or Eichel in the finals. I just felt at the time that the market might have been a little soft around then. And don't get me wrong too, we're dipping on some guys and we're going to go through those guys too, but I just feel like that we're at least in murky waters
Mm-hmm.
where you can't assume that every price you're seeing is reflective of an off-season dip. You're going to have to dig in to look at the data. So first we'll look at some of the guys that somehow are up, and I kind of, for a number of these, I kind of pick guys that are not super obvious as to why they would be up, right? Where you would kind of scratch your head and think, well, wait a minute, since the season ended, this guy is up 76%, right? And that would be like Igor Shesterkin, who's 2019 Young on PSA 10 as a pop 383, sold for $400 US, and that is up 76% over the last three sales. It is down 27% in the past year. So I think that kind of reinforces maybe a little bit that hypothesis that, well, the market's been soft, and for particular players like Shesterkin, we know since 2021, maybe when he peaked, when he won the Vezina, and he didn't have like the greatest year this year, although he's still pretty good, that his market had softened a little bit. So it is down over 27%, but maybe it's rebounding a little bit. It makes no sense why, Troy, since the beginning of June to today, that his card would be up to the degree it is. Right?
Yeah,
There's no rational
no,
explanation for that.
no, unless someone came out with a huge article on how he's the greatest thing ever. But
Did you?
no, I did not. I didn't come
Okay.
out with anything.
Then the next guy is Artemi Panarin. Remember, they got bounced early in the playoffs. His Young Gun PSA 10s from 2015, pop 919, current value $75, up 15% over the last five sales. Still down 38% in the past year. But again, how over five sales is this card up 15%? To me, that supports that maybe there might have been a little bit of a bottoming out, because as we're approaching mid-July, this card should be going only down at this point, and then ramping up as we get into the start of the next season. Next guy I want to look at was Nick Suzuki, where his 2019 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 893, current value 300, is up 28% over seven sales since June 1st. 28% up. Another one of these is really hard to explain. Still down 26% in the past year. He didn't switch teams, right? They didn't make the playoffs. He hasn't been relevant in months. Hard to explain. Then another guy we talked about too is, now here's a top tier guy, Sidney Crosby. His 2015 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 987, current value of $3,150, is up 31% over the past 6 sales, and now is up 13% year over year. Of all the top tier superstar type guys, him and Austin Matthews had the most challenging seasons. Not that Crosby wasn't good, but I think is more affected by his team for the first time in his career to make the playoffs. Right. And so we're all thinking, that's going to have a negative impact on the Crosby market. But up 31% since the beginning of June. And it's not just one sale, too. It's a number of sales. So to me, that's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So what do you make of that? What do you make of this small sample of guys that it kind of doesn't make sense, doesn't it?
Well, I had a kind of a thought pop into my head as you're kind of talking about this. I wonder at some point, did everyone collectively now knows there's this off-season dip, and everyone went out and started to buy. And if you have more buyers than sellers, you're going to drive the price up. And I'm curious if that's kind of in play a little bit here. I can't
Yeah.
explain why these guys are going up like that. Maybe what I just said is a little part of the reason, but that's just me conjecturing about it.
And like we said, there are guys that are dipping, and we're going to go through them.
Yeah.
And so by going through these players that where their values are going up, what I really want to stress is that whole murky waters concept, where I think right now you have to be, again, really careful as you're
Mm-hmm.
buying and selling. You can't just look at the last sale. I would really strongly recommend looking at trends. So
Yeah.
looking at the past 5 to 7 sales and really see where the trend is going on that particular player or card. Because as a seller, of course, you want to maximize your selling price while within rationality of the market, right? You're not going to get $1 million for every card. But as a buyer, you want to get the best deal or value you can. And so right now, if you're thinking, man, I really like Suzuki, he hasn't played in forever. So I don't know, $300, it's got to be the dip. It's like, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a deal compared to where it was 6 weeks ago. It's actually more. And that's a card you might want to wait out a little bit. Okay, now the guys that are dipping, right? So these are people that are, I think, acting more like we would expect in the market. Again, because it's the off season, there's no NHL hockey, fan and collector interest wanes, and we know that. I think the other thing that we got to remind ourselves of the like, well, how do you know there's an off season dip? How do you know that well, value goes down, that it's part of maybe that whole concept? It's because there is no hockey. There's nothing that's happened in the world of Mitch Marner that's changed in the past month and a half that would, or no performance reason why his cards would go up or down. Right. So we can definitely say that, nothing happened off the ice that was kind of crazy either. That it's just, well, the general or diminished interest in the sport at this time. So looking at some of the guys that have dipped, Troy, we'll start with Marner. His 2016 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 1,255, current value 281 US dollars. So he had 99 points last season. It was his best season to date. Does play a little bit of second fiddle to Austin Matthews, as
Mm-hmm.
we know, but he's down 16% since the start of June and 37% over the past year. So here's a card that kind of follows the trend that we would expect, right? That he's down 16% now, maybe goes down at 281, maybe bottoms out at 250 and then starts to climb as everyone gets excited about the Maple Leafs again prior to the start of the season. Next guy we'll look at is Matthew Tkachuk. He's a 2016 Young Gun. His PSA 10 pop 820 has a current value of 163. He had a huge breakout season, but I think the inevitable come down from his really epic playoff run is what we're seeing right now. We knew that, what was it, in May, or where this card
Yeah,
peaked
when
at
he was getting, yeah,
$350, something like
yeah.
that? 380. God, that's a big drop. But we knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, this also reinforces, as hard as it is, when a guy you like is blowing up and playing brilliant hockey and coming out of nowhere and leading his team to great success, not a good time to buy his cards. If you can just be a little bit patient in this hobby, you can get a lot better deal. And because, of course, now you can buy two of his cards for less than one cost, just two of the same card from a month ago. So it's down, Troy. The Kachuk Young Gun PSA 10 is down 36% since the beginning of
Yeah.
June. Still up 9% year to date, though, and that shows you
Yep.
how much of a breakout he had. But totally expect that. Now, the next one, we got to do our guy Kaprizov here, Troy. His
Oh.
2020 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 11 billion. That's really 4,162, which is
Yep.
crazy. Has a current value of 165 US dollars. Sorry about that, Troy.
That's sad.
You need a minute to collect yourself here? We
No,
pause the show?
I've accepted it. It's
Okay.
the value of this card is always baked into my emotions. So I already know what's going on with it.
It's down 9% since the beginning of June. And you should probably cover your ears, Troy, here. It's down 59% year to date. So does
Yep.
this card just trend to zero at this point? Is that what you're...
That's what it seems like. I mean, you can't go lower than zero. That's the only good thing, I guess. Can't. Well, if you shorted it, I remember when people were talking about that shorting hockey cards. That'd be a disaster.
But again, this is another example where it's not all that unexpected. The Wild were bounced in 6 games or 5 games, was it, in round 1, something like that, and haven't played in forever, and the pop count keeps going up. He is saying Opa hello on social media, which I love, but yeah.
Yeah, I just brought up a chart here for Jan, beginning of the year, and it's just a steady trend right now. A couple spikes in there, but
yeah. Next guy is Connor McDavid. His 2015 Young Gun PSA 10 popped 2,607. Has a current value of 2,580 US. Of course, he's the best player in the NHL seasons. I use that at the word seasons because maybe at this point we declare Connor Bedard the NHL's best player at development camps. Right? So the Connors are...
if he's on the ice.
If he's on the ice.
Even if they're doing off ice or in the classroom, I'm sure he's still the best.
Anyways, McDavid's Young Gun is down 10% since the 1st of June and down 3% year over year, which is kind of crazy at this point. So, yeah, starting to dip there. And then the other guy that I picked is, I thought it's kind of interesting, Rope Hintz, 2018 Young Gun PSA 10, pop 456, current value $76 US. Now, Troy, he's put back-to-back 37-goal seasons together. 26 years old, so he's definitely in his prime. Maybe he might be a hobby breakout candidate next season if he can level it up a bit and get maybe to 40 or more goals and closer to 100 points. Down 31% since June 1, which is the same 31% over the past year. So there's a few guys. There's lots of other examples you could look at. We've digested a lot already on this topic, and as I was doing all this research and kind of put everything down, then I had to try to figure out, okay, what does all this mean? First off, it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, everything about what's happening in the market seems obvious like a year or two from now, right? We look back and be like, oh, of course, this is what was happening. None of us have a crystal ball. In any move we make, there's limited conflicting and competing information that clouds maybe what the best path forward is. So that's often the trick of it, I think, is to sort through all the different information to try to make the best or smartest buys, whether it's for PC or for investing, right? You want to get the card you want for the best price because it gives you more funds to collect more. So based on all that, here's my thoughts and recommendations as to where we're at in the hockey hobby and kind of how to approach maybe the next month or so. And I'll see where you agree or disagree, Trey. I have a hunch, and I have no data to support it, but I just have a feeling that the off-season dip, floor, or crater, whatever you want to call it, is going to be a touch later this year. I can't even articulate why, but I'm guessing. I just the looking at all the data and kind of feeling where everything's moving. I think August 1st, August 15th would be my best guess as to when we hit that dip. Now, will it be for everybody? Will Nick Suzuki keep rising? I don't know. But so I'm not pulling the trigger today. I guess maybe it's a good way to say is I'm going to wait it out a little bit. I also think it's a really tricky time right now to sell good cards. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen. So if you're a seller and you can wait basically 2 months until the start of the season, I think that would be the best course of action in my opinion. And then on the buying side, I think it's really important right now to really think and plan out the cards you want and try to figure out your strike price, right? Don't try to you don't have to try to get the lowest price of the year on the
Hmm.
card, but find a range you're comfortable in and track it, set up alerts, and when it gets to the price you're comfortable at, then I think you can confidently pull the figure. And if it goes down 10 more dollars in the night or 20 more dollars, who cares
Yep.
at that point? But I don't know. What do you make of all this?
Well, I'm curious. Do you think? And I know we looked at all young guns. Do you think the flood of just product we've had has kind of kept interest pretty high on some of these
Maybe.
guys? And that might be a reason. But I think the most important part of your whole point on this is that second or the third point where you talk about finding your strike price. What we just did, everyone can have access to. You don't need to, even if you don't have a subscription to like Card Ladder or Market Movers, you can manually look up all the prices. It's a lot of work, but it makes sense. If you're an investor and you want to make sure you're getting a good price, it really behooves you to do the work behind it and see where the prices is for each card. That's why this kind of exercise, what we're showing on some of those guys where they have dipped, if one of them was a guy you were focusing in on, this would be a good exercise to do. And you can see kind of where the pricing is. And do you want to jump in at that price? So it really helps to do your homework. And I think that's one of the best parts of this whole segment is seeing the work behind the scenes that you can do to figure out what you like or what price you want to get.
The hard part if you're trying to make money, whether it be on sports cards or real estate or stocks or anything like that, is that in order to make money, you have to buy when the
Hmm.
interest is the least.
Yep.
But you have the most confidence in whatever that is when the interest is the highest. But that's not the time to buy it. So that's where I think really finding that, identifying the guys that you're maybe really excited about next year. Maybe it's a Timmy Stutzla, or you think Tage Thompson is going to
Hmm.
take off again, or you're really, really bullish on Slavkovsky coming back from injury. And you're like, okay, these are the guys I know I want to invest in. But then it's about what's the price that's going to get me either comfortable from my PC perspective, or I think I can make money on if I'm flipping these cards when the interest does ramp up. And we know that interest typically is at its highest right at the start of the season. So hopefully everyone finds that useful.
I did.
Good. Okay, we want to move on to new product releases. Still not a checklist out yet for what's next. I think Upper Deck again is catching its breath. As I was poking around and trying to figure out what could be next, I'm hearing a lot about Ultimate Collection. So we'll see. That's, I think, is sort of the rumor. That's what's most recent on the release calendars. I will caution though that that's maybe not always the case. We've seen that happen before where the next product on the release calendar gets, it's a product that isn't the next release, right? Where it's one that was
Hmm.
maybe scheduled for a month later, that, and I don't know why or how that happens, but that's just the way it is. But I did notice, particularly on David Adams, Troy, that, and I should say even further particularly in the 2021-22 set year, that there's been some pretty big price drops
Yeah.
lately. So I'm just going to roll through some of the sets in case these are sets you're interested in. Now it's the 2021-22 rookie class. So Caulfield, Zegras, Swayman, Sider, Raymond, all those guys. If you're a Future Watch Auto fan, SP Authentic hobby boxes were originally 249 US, and now I think, what is it, 180 or something like that. So it's down 28%. Pretty healthy drop.
Yep.
We talked about Allure. That's now $99 for 2021-22 on David Adams, down from 140. Big drop.
Yes.
2021 Extended, $60, down from 100. So that's
Yeah.
40% drop.
Yeah. Extended always ends up going trailing to like
Way down.
40 to 60 at some point, and it's starting that downward trend.
One of our favorite sets, OPG Paper for 2021-22, Troy, $45 now.
I might
Down
have
from
bought some of
60. You might have.
that.
All right.
I might have.
Might have. Rumor. SP Game Used, which isn't really game used, is down to 109 from 189. That's probably the biggest drop, right? That's close to, I want to say, close to half, 40% off or something like that. You can get 2021-22 Series 1 for 75 US, right? So that'll have your Caulfield and Zegras Young Guns. Series 2 is even cheaper, Troy, at $60. Remember how crazy
Yeah.
Series 2 was when it came
Yep.
out. To think of it, $60 for a hobby box right now is crazy.
Wow.
And further, a Series 2 retail box, $30.
Wow. Huh.
So if you still pumped on what New Hook, Byfields, Cider, Raymond, all those Series 2 guys, you can get 6 Young Guns for $30 in a retail box right now. And if you love PMGs and Metal Universe, it's down to 80 from 150.
Wow.
Another crazy drop.
Yep.
And lastly, Synergy from 2021-22 is 80 down from 100. I did check Steel City. I think you did too. Do you agree with me that they were maybe like $5 more on average than Dave and Adams right now? Something like that.
They were when I checked. Now I didn't check today.
Sure.
And those two are pretty good about price matching or find like they must have scripts that run and pulling the price from the other competitor because it seems like they start to match really quick. So they might come Steel City might match what David Adams is showing, but when we looked, it was usually about $5 difference US.
We didn't forget about our Canadian friends. I did check Klaus and Chara, and prices as of right now have not dropped significantly. So really, Troy, for the first time in what feels like forever, hockey boxes are better priced in the US right now
Yeah,
than Canada.
finally. Finally.
Yeah. Sweeping large statement based on my small sample size, but I'm gonna run with it. It is shocking to me a little bit to see these 2021 boxes discounted so heavily right now. I mean, I kind of understand it, kind of don't, because to me, it's like on one hand, but then on the other hand, type of situation. So I get on one hand that there's still a lot of 2022 sets that haven't come
Yep.
out, and if you go by the release calendar, we're like less than a month away from 2023 MVP.
Yep.
So if all these retailers, in theory, could have a lot of inventory they're sitting on and need to start getting rid of it. But now on the other hand, Troy, I think last time I counted, there's like 7 2021 sets that haven't even been released yet. So you've got on one, you got let's say like David Adams that is releasing 2021 sets at full price and then has some that are almost half off at this point. Just feels a little weird to me, right? To have that sort of dichotomy within the same set year. Is that just me or is that strange to you?
I just think these retailers want it out, and we're gonna have another, I think, run of releases, and I think they just want to keep their inventory at a level they're comfortable with and not get stuck with anything left over.
Mhm. All right, we'll keep you updated as we get I'm guessing by next show we'll have a checklist. I'd be
Yeah,
surprised if we didn't.
yeah.
Okay, want to make a quick PWCC mention. PWCC is a Gong Show partner and sponsor. Of course, thank them for helping us and sponsoring our show. The July premiere auction, Troy, starts in 3 days. So this Thursday, you're going to want to head to pwccmarketplace.com to check it out later this week. Also, the current weekly auction is live as well. We're going to pick out our favorite cards for this Thursday show. We always look at a few vintage and modern cards, so stay tuned for that. And outside of the auctions, you can always find great hockey cards via the fixed price marketplace, all at pwccmarketplace.com. All right. Second week in a row, personal pickups. Very excited about this. Very, very excited about this. It feels like we're real hockey card collectors again, Troy.
We're back. We're back to buying.
I had 3 pickups this week. The first one, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see right now, is a 2019 Allure Jack Hughes rookie die cut white rainbow PSA 10. I got from a trade on my card post. Can't remember what I traded for it, but I was really happy getting. I like this more than what I traded
Yeah,
away.
I was like, you're really sad you let the other cards go that you can't remember them.
I wasn't a big trader too, and I would tell you that all the time. Like I was
Yeah,
more just about buying and selling, but I'm really digging trading and connecting with people and kind of working deals on my card post. So be sure to check that out. And you can sign up for free for a buyer account just to check it out at mycardpost.com. Then from the card show we went to yesterday, as a Wild fan, I don't know how you're going to think about this, but I had Matt Boldy Young Guns exclusives raw. That was very typical of what you'd expect for Series 1. Probably an 8, maybe a 9, definitely not a 10, right? I think his base Young Gun gem rate, something like what, 27, 29%,
yeah.
something like that. It's just
Hmm.
crazy bad. So I traded that for 2 cards. For this first one, a 2015 OPG update. So this is not a platinum, it's an update of paper, but is a rainbow foil. Marquee rookie PSA 10. It's my first actually really good McDavid rookie. So I'm pretty excited about that. And the big thing that tipped me to this is that it's pop 306.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We've talked a long time where we just went through his Young Gun PSA 10 is up to, it's a lot more valuable than this, but it's up to like 2,607 population. So that makes this what, 8 times less or something like that from a pop count. It's a shiny card. It's got the rainbow foil. I really like it. So happy to pick that up. And then I bought this one. Hey, maybe call the McDavid a little bit of an investment, but the next card is just, I thought it's a super cool card in honor of putting Kucherov on our all nobody cares team. I had to get a card from a player nobody cares about. And just to illustrate the point, they didn't even know what it was worth. I found a comp on Card Ladder or something like that. And it's basically a $45-$50 card. It's a 2016 The Cup Brilliance auto. It's raw, but the card's in really, really nice shape. And he's a great player. It's a cool auto. It's just a card I wanted. So had to get it.
Awesome.
What did you pick up?
So I picked up 5 cards.
Look at you.
5 cards. I went crazy. So here's my first one if you're watching on YouTube. But for our audio listeners, it was a 2019 Black Diamond in the Rough Pekka Rinne premium relic patch out of 25. I just think it looks cool. And I will say this, I'm not a big patch only or swatch patch only person. I usually like autos on the cards as well. But when it's Pekka, I made an exception. It's got the nice little swatch here, 2-color, yellow and white. And then I like that's numbered out of 25.
Where did you get this one?
This one, I believe, is Slab Sharks. Oh. So this one was Slab Sharks. And my next pickup was a 2015 Upper Deck Ice Pekka Rinne Glacial Graphs auto. Again, I love how this card looks. Great picture, full body picture of Rinne, autograph. This one I think was Slab Sharks also.
Okay.
And then my third pickup, this one was a Josh special. He sent it to me. A 2016-17 OPC Platinum Pekka Rinne Seismic Gold out of 50. This one just looks sweet. Really good picture here. The picture on the eBay post was really nice. But yeah, it looks fantastic. A little bit off center, left to right, but maybe top to bottom a little bit.
Have you got that one yet?
I haven't got this one yet. Okay.
Or
no, I don't think I've gotten this one yet. It's still in the mail. It was coming from Canada, I believe. But it looks fantastic. Great looking card. Fourth card I picked up was a 2011 Panini Limited Pekka Rinne Crease Cleaners auto out of 99. Again, I just am a fan of the picture on the card. He's in the net. Looks great. It's got his autograph. Fantastic looking card. This might have been Slab Sharks too. I think I'm just going to say everything's Slab Sharks, and I'm probably 90% chance I got it right. And then the last pickup, I know this one was not Slab Sharks. I got a 96-97 Pinnacle Summit Jaromir Jagr High Voltage out of 1,500. So our 90s inserts, Frank Porco would be happy with me, I think. This card, I found it in a dollar box. I think it was $7 they had it listed for. It looks almost like in perfect shape. Like I've looked at this thing, stared at the corners, look fantastic. I just think it looks cool. It is a great looking card. And
it is cool.
Happy to add a Jagr.
Does it give you the bug for late 90s at all?
It does a little bit. It's sweet. And what gives you the bug is finding it in a dollar box.
That's the best.
Yeah, you don't know like how you got to take your time at shows. Like that was one of the things I wanted to do at that show. We went to the Minnesota Card Show, their first like monthly one. It was just too packed, and I don't have the patience to stand there and wait for someone to go through their box, and then I'll jump in. So what we got.
All right, we're going to end the show with Mailbag. Have a bunch of great questions again today. And we're going to start with Instagram, our friend Special One Cards. He does a soccer podcast.
Yep.
I think he does a little bit of hockey on it too, but y'all should check it out, especially if you're into soccer. I think it's just under Special One Cards on like Apple or Spotify. So be sure to listen to that. He says, are you at all concerned with the amount of autographs we see in products? They used to be special, and I feel like they're losing their luster on the investment side. For the collector, I don't think it impacts it. In the same effect, the hobby is also making decisions on which ones to buy. In the years to come, should we expect lower number cards to be more desirable than autos? I'll let you take this one first, Troy.
Yeah, like Special said, from a collector standpoint, which I fall into the collector more than the investor, I love it. I love autos. More autos, the better. However, from a personal standpoint, I will say this. I have definitely found myself leaning towards numbered autographs, even. Now, Pekka is a special case. I'll probably buy just base autos, but I've really started on other players and even some of the players at PC. I've kind of been skipping over base autos and kind of going for those more serial numbered special ones. And you see like Future Watch autos out of 999. That's a lot of cards with an auto. And I can
Yeah.
see what we're saying. They kind of lose their luster the more you look at this hobby. Now, again, it's an important card still. And like we said, that could change. But I do feel there's some merit to moving towards those lower number cards, even if the autos are moving towards more lower number cards. So I think special is definitely onto something with this point.
I agree. I feel like the more I've studied this hobby, the more I've learned that not all memorabilia, autoed or serial number
Yeah.
cards are created equal. I think as Upper Deck continues to experiment with different configurations and card types, maybe also increases the overall production to meet anticipated growth, that this concept will only become more important. I also think it's not just current player, but especially the legends. How many sets
Hmm.
each year can we have a Wayne Gretzky auto before they start to get watered down?
Yep.
I think a year ago, I glad I didn't buy like some like random. And I know you really like stature, and so I'm not
Yeah.
dogging stature when I say this, but would you be super comfortable buying like a $2,500 2020 or 2021 Wayne Gretzky auto on a stature card? Because it's like, man, there's so many of those that come
Yep.
out each year that how relevant are these going to be? Is it I don't know. And so I tend to agree that I think there's something going on. And I think you just have to be really discerning about the card, the brand that it comes from before, especially with players that are going to cost you serious money. Now,
Yeah.
you're lucky, and I do mean that lucky, on that you love Pecorine and he is not worth a lot. So
No,
you get to get almost any card you want and not have to sweat the price of it.
I was gonna say
So
those cards I just showed, all the Pekkas. I want to say the most expensive one on there was maybe $27, if I remember right.
mhm.
Add shipping, everything, maybe 38, somewhere in there.
Now, if I see a card that's like an OPG Platinum Seismic Gold auto, I'm very confident paying a good amount of money for that player because
Hmm.
if the player continues to rise, that card is going to be too. But
Yeah.
am I as confident if it's a uh, trilogy auto? No, I'm just not. Okay, next question from Instagram Wood Table Sport Card. eBay is offering a certified guarantee program for cards sold over $250. This is his words, not ours, but they're partnering with a second tier grading company. When we receive the card authenticated by eBay, should we keep the card inside the card saver slash packaging? And could it increase its value for future sales completed outside of the eBay platform? I'll let you take the lead on this one,
So
Troy.
on this one, I thought they were partnering with PSA and CSG. Did I miss? I haven't looked at
I
it.
think it's just CSG.
Is it just CSG? Okay.
I believe so.
So I do think it's a great question. I actually have bought a card that went through the eBay authentication process, and it comes back in a pretty nice package. I'm going to show it on the YouTube video. It comes in this like nice holder, and it's like a magnetic case. It's really nice, and they put the card in there and all that. But when you get to it, the card is actually they put it in a team bag, and this team bag has a QR code and a sticker on it that says "void if damaged." And that really didn't stop me, as I immediately broke the seal and removed it from the card from the team bag because I wanted the card out of the plastic team bag. I wanted to put it in my own case. I wanted to see it. I'm not sure if that will affect the value, but I guess having it authenticated and still in the team bag with that QR code can't hurt the value, if that makes sense. That's how I kind of look at this. And I don't even know, it says void if damaged. I just unsealed it and took it out. So it's not really damaged. QR code's still there. I'm not sure exactly at the end of the day. Does it increase its value? I can't say, but I can say it won't hurt its value to stay in there.
The way I look at it is the intention for which you bought the card. If you bought it as a pure investment to flip and you're just going to shove it in a box and not look at it or enjoy it,
Hmm.
then yeah, I guess if you plan to sell it outside of eBay, like at a local show, and you think that the fact that it's been authenticated could help build some confidence in who's ever buying it, then sure, there you go. But I think most cards we want to enjoy. And so for that reason, I would probably take it out of the packaging.
No.
Next question from Gongshow Discord. Our good friend Loud Collector Phil says, question for bags of mail. Bags of mail. Love it. There's a card I want an e-pack, but the user hasn't logged on in years. How would one go about trying to acquire the card? I checked the FAQ and found nothing. Maybe you boys can use the old Billy Bat phone and sort it out. It would be the Daniel Machado Bat phone, I think.
Yeah, we got Danny. He'd give us the answer, maybe.
All right, Troy, what do you think?
Well, I actually thought about this and long and hard, and I have no idea what you do if your only option is to try and get some dead ePack account to waken up and see your offer to acquire the card. You could keep sending offers, maybe somehow, some way they'll eventually see it. But I'm guessing if it's a dead account, they've either changed emails or something's happened around there. I You're basically just gonna have to give up, I guess, on ePack being the option, and you're gonna have to look for other avenues to get the card. As I'm talking now, I started thinking, what happens like Facebook, they all have processes in place if someone dies, someone passes away.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wonder if Upper Deck has something in place and if how to get like say you get someone has an EPAC account and they pass away, can the family get control of that EPAC account or get the cards? I actually think that'd be a really good question for Upper Deck. We might have to email Daniel Machado on that and ask. But besides that, I think there's too many privacy issues or anything around. Hey, send in a note to Upper Deck saying this account hasn't been active for 2 years. How do you get in touch with them? They won't even play that area.
They have
So
no incentive to.
yeah, they have no incentive to.
The only other thing I could think of is see if their username is a common one that they used on other social media, like Instagram or like in a Facebook group, and try to message them through that social media platform and
Yeah.
try that way. Okay, next question from Instagram, Mike6. Why does it seem every seismic gold is way off centered? Okay, Troy, you want to?
Well, not every one of them is off centered, but I will say this: a lot are. It's more often I see them not, or I see them off centered than I see them on center, which is crazy. And I showed the Pekka Rene I bought, Seismic Gold. Great. Centering looked good, tad off, but it looked good. It wasn't crazy. I actually did buy a previous Seismic Gold Rene, and I did the mistake of I didn't look at the picture very close. I saw it. I was like, oh, it's great. It's cheap. It's Pekka. I want to say it was like $5. I bought it. I got it, and it was 80-20. It was something way off. So that kind of soured me. But I think the whole thing is the issue that we see with off centering. I feel it really plagues OPC Platinum, not just seismic golds, lots of things in that set seem to be really off centered, or maybe it's just how the cards are designed that they look really off centered. Josh is holding up on his camera a Cole Caulfield that he has, a red prism. It's 90-10. I mean, it's way off centered. And it's just something that's kind of plagued that set. And I don't know if it's the process with how the cards are cut. I don't know. It's probably something we need to ask a little or dig a little deeper on, but it is definitely an issue. And I won't say all of them, a good majority of them are.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expects every card to be 100% on center, but these are when it's like 90-10, it's kind of depressing. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
Well, maybe I walk back that where I said a majority are. I don't know. Maybe it just seems like you see a lot, even the ones for sale on platforms. You can always tell if they're a little bit off centered. It just seems like it plagues OPC Platinum.
Well, it's been a buzzkill for this past release too.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about it. We have an anonymous question. First time for that, but okay, we're good with it. I understand that in every circumstance, somebody might not want to disclose their name. So this person
I was gonna say, do we need to set up what are they called? Signal accounts or some, I can't remember what they were. They're these accounts where people can drop notes anonymously and they're supposedly can't be tracked. So we can get some really juicy hobby drama news. That would be fun.
Hobby drama. No, I don't think we need to do that. Okay, this person says, two-person sale on a few cards. Both did not know the value or comps on one of these certain cards. The one who wanted it quite much thought it was what was offered was fair, and the other opted to take the offer. Not long after, a better way was found to locate comps, and there was a very, very drastic discrepancy between what was thought to be fair at the time and then after. Any expectations or thoughts on it all? The losing party took it as a lesson learned and potential deal on transaction that was being worked out since then from the winning party. I think I kind of follow that from
Yeah.
this person. I don't know. I mean, there's not enough specific details to, I think, give a super specific answer. But in general, what I would say is at the end of the day, the hobby is pretty small, and your biggest asset is your reputation.
Yep.
In this case, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if there's a right or wrong answer as new information was presented, but to me, it's more important in how both parties act towards each other. I always try to take the long view. Like if I knew somebody and was developing a relationship and we agreed to a deal and maybe I bought a card that we all thought was worth $100 and then we find out 2 days later is really worth $200. I think I would reach back out to that seller and let that person maybe throw them some more money a little bit just to say, hey, we thought we wanted to do something that was 80% of comps and this ends up being like 40% of comps. So here's a little bit.
Mm.
And if you do that and you take that long perspective and are honest, ethical, and strive to make deals that are good for everyone, I think you benefit more over time and also enjoy the hobby more. And I saw actually a scenario that Ryan kid, the card collector too, bought a
Yeah.
huge box at a card show for X amount of dollars. And then there's a really valuable card that happened to be in the box. And he went back to the show the next day and gave the seller a few hundred more dollars and said, I don't know if you knew with this card, we thought the value of like the cards that were like an average of $25 a card, and it turns out there's $1,000 card here.
Yeah. Well, was that on
So
his
to
YouTube?
be
Was that
fair,
on his channel? Did he show that
yeah,
on
I don't know
video?
if,
Yeah.
if that's self-serving, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is, but
it's a
it's
good
good to
sentiment.
see. Yeah, it's a good sentiment.
Yeah, no, again,
I
if it's some random transaction from somebody you don't know on eBay, I think
exactly.
it might be different too. But in his scenario, he was like the two people were working together to come to a
Hmm.
deal, and
Yep.
that's why I just go back to take the long. Don't try to win the deal as much as win the relationship.
Yep. Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking too on the whole relationship building. Now, I was gonna ask was like if the guy was a jerk to you or the whatever, and then no, you don't. I mean, if you don't care about the relationship, take it and go. But if you're really truly valuing the relationship, your reputation is everything, and all it takes is one person to kind of start gapping. Even though you agreed on a price and it worked out. I actually give props to who I think they said the other person took the loss and just took it and
Yeah.
said lesson learned, which hey, I give props to that too. I've done that too if with a lot of things in this hobby where it's like lesson learned, move on.
All right. Next question is from Instagram Power for Calder. What's your opinion on selling Connor Bedard's Team Canada cards before his Young Gun releases? Sell, 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 sell,
Yep.
sell.
That's what mine
And
said. Sell, sell.
yeah, I think you'll be able to buy him back later for a
Yep.
discount if you like the card. Very similar to the whole Matthew Kachuk Young Guns in the third round of the playoffs, right?
Yep.
The Eastern Conference Finals, where they're just going bananas. And we just knew that right now they'd be worth half as much. So if you love the card, sell it while it's hot and then buy it back for a discount later.
Agree. 100%.
Next question from Instagram PWT. Guys, I have a 1988 OPG Brett Hull rookie. It's currently raw and looks great. Do I pay the cost or run the risk to get it graded? All right, PWT. So to me, it depends on your goals. If you want to sell it and maximize value, here's what I would do. I would take it to a local LCS that I trust and I get an opinion or second opinion on the condition. If you grade it PSA, which I would to maximize value, and it's a 10, it's going to have a lot of value. Last sale for PSA 10 of his 88 OPG rookie was in February for $4,000. Here's the rub, though. The pop on the PSA 10 is 63 out of
Hmm.
3,272 that have been graded. So if you just go by the odds, you have a 2% chance that the card you have right now is a 10. Conversely, 29% of those 3,272 that have been graded by PSA have come back with a 9, which is worth $160. So probably still worth it for a flip if it's a card you got cheap, because it's going to cost you what, about 30 bucks or so to grade it. But 49% of the copies graded have come back with an 8, which is worth $34, which is essentially what your grading costs are. So that's where I want that opinion,
Yeah.
because it's a waste of time at a PSA 8. It's a nice win at PSA 9 and a home run at a PSA 10. But the odds of it being a PSA 10 are probably pretty small. Anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly what I would. It's the steps you walk through to determine if it's worth it.
Yeah. Okay, next question from Instagram Liebner. I pulled the Spencer Knight sign of the Times out of 25 and am having no luck finding comps. Do you think there's a value in getting it graded to help value it? So I didn't find a direct comp either, Liebner, but I looked at other rookies for 2021 SB Authentic sign of the Times out of 25. And based on comparable type rookies, I would guess it's worth 100 to 125 US raw. To me, Knight is hard because he missed so much time last year in the player assistance program. He is coming back. It was announced by Florida. So that's good news, but we don't know how much he's going to play or how effective he'll be, especially at the start of the season when he's coming back. And because it's only out of 25, and there's so many uncertainties, I actually don't think grading will have a major impact on value unless it's a PSA 10. So if a raw is worth 125, let's say, you might get 175 for a PSA 10, but a lot of upper deck cards don't grade out at Gem Mint, and so you'd have to be really, really confident that the card is in
That's all you think it's
perfect
worth?
shape.
A PSA 10? If it was 100 to 125 raw,
What's out of 25? I don't know. Maybe you think it'd be worth more?
I think it'd be worth a little bit more. I'm
Okay.
not saying it's going to be $1,000, but I think it'd be a little bit more. But
Couple
again,
hundred.
no, I'm with you on the. I probably don't get a grade. I don't. I'd almost hold it just to see what Spencer and I can do. Plus, if it's out of 25, it's got to be the black, right, with the gold.
Yeah.
Those are cool cards. Keep it. Display it.
But this kind of goes back to Special's question, though, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's a sign on the Times out of 25. And on face value, you think, wow, so much more valuable than Future Watch Auto. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
the sign out of Times out of 25 is worth more than his Future Watch Auto? I don't.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I
No,
haven't looked
you're
it
right. I
up.
think you're right for sure.
So, our next question from, oh gosh, how do you say this guy's name? Zefgium on
Zeph
Instagram.
We'll go with that. Zeph.
What is the top 5 best Young Guns or Future Watch Auto investments? So Zefgium, if that's your name, hopefully I pronounced it right. I completely understand your question, but I have to tell you, the more I've learned about this hobby, the more I understand that nobody can answer this question.
Yeah.
Nobody. If we could, we wouldn't bother doing a show. We would just make boatloads of money on cards, and Troy and I would tie our yachts together in the Mediterranean and sip pina coladas all day because we would be so filthy
I'd
rich.
rather. Well, I'd rather go to the Bahamas, but
Okay.
I get your sentiment.
We'll have yachts in the Mediterranean and the Bahamas. We'll compromise.
Yeah.
My best advice to you, though, is to just do some research. Go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, look at our Gong Show rules, look for young players that are either already scoring a lot of goals or have the potential to score lots of goals. Look for marketable guys that seem to have that unquantifiable it factor that people are just drawn to, and make your list of people you want to make bets on, because that's really what you're doing. In the next couple of months, we mentioned this a little bit before too. We're going to be doing our own research and giving specific players, like for breakout candidates or guys, young players that we think have potential. And so you can look forward to that. We just haven't done the research yet to give a great answer. But um, again, I just go back to nobody really knows who the best to invest are. And we would be lying or full of ourselves if we said otherwise. Do
Yeah.
you have anything to add to that?
No, I would agree with you 100%. It's a really hard question to ask, and we don't want to it's hard to get into these, but we will give player recommendations that we like. And if you go back to previous shows, you can find some stuff in there where we do talk who do we think are players on the rise, or who are players that we like, that we feel might do well in the next couple upcoming seasons.
I'm
But
sure we're wrong a lot.
yeah, but we'll definitely get into it going forward this year on the upcoming season as well.
Okay, last question from Instagram. Top Shelf Cookie Sniper podcast. So that's our friend Jay. Top Shelf Cookie Sniper 88 is his normal account. He has a new Hockey Cards podcast as well. Everyone go check out and support Jay. Again, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper podcast. Now that you guys have almost 100 episodes, congrats on that. Well, thanks, Jay. What's been your favorite episode and your least favorite episode for each of you? I'll let you go here first.
All right, least favorite is any of the first 10. That's what I'm drawing the line. Any of the first 10. I was so nervous, could barely speak, and you guys probably wouldn't believe how many times I had to restart because I just couldn't form words. I was getting frustrated with myself. I don't know why I was nervous. It's not like I had an audience watching me live or anything, but I was just really super nervous in those first 10.
And literally nobody listened to our show either.
No one listened to it. We have a day that will always be in our metrics of 0. We had one day with 0 listeners.
Ouch.
For the favorites, it's like that whole question, who's your favorite kid? You can't name one. I can't name one, but there's some that come to mind. The game show episodes I really liked, even though I was terrible on them. I think those are fun because you can see how much I don't remember of our show. All the masterclass episodes, because I learned so much, whether it be Sports Card Cartel, talking about OPC, Jeremy Lee doing Parkhurst, Mitch Grotman on the Cup, Frank Porco on 90s inserts. Also, I really, really enjoyed the interview that we had with Naim Cardinal. It was one of my favorite interviews. I loved learning all the history that he presented to us on Indigenous players. And then I was thinking about it a little bit more. And it's like any interview, actually, I really have really enjoyed, because just a matter of fact, it's an honor people would come on our show and talk to us. And we get a chance to learn a lot about a whole different host of different subjects, whether it be hockey cards, a sponsor, what they offer, or getting some terrific insight from Upper Deck. So that's kind of how I answer it.
Good answer.
Good answer. Long-winded, but good. No, I'm just kidding. Long-winded answer, but I hope that makes sense.
I agree with you that the early episodes, I think, were rough. I have a very hard time listening.
Mm-hmm.
We get so many people each day that do listen to our old episodes, which I love. I'm grateful for that, but I kind of cringe too at the thought. So we mentioned this before. I think it was a couple months ago. We have people that listen to our first episode every day. Every single day, somebody listens to our first episode. And so I went back and gosh, what are they hearing? And I tried to listen to it. I don't think I made it 2 minutes, and I wanted to poke my eyeballs out with a fork, and I had to turn it off.
No, your ears. You want to jam stuff into your ears. Eyeballs, you didn't want to see. You're good.
But that's how out of sorts I was. I was going to poke my own eyeballs. I do agree with you, Troy, that I like the master classes a lot. Interviews are amazing. And I don't know if you've had this thought too at all, but one thing I don't think people understand, and nobody would know, because why would you, about our show is it's a lot of work, like a ton of work, and a lot of work. And it feels like a never ending sprint. So when we publish this episode that we're talking on right now, we immediately start the next episode, and we're sprinting till 10 minutes before we record to finish writing the next one. And so I feel like there's no time to reflect at all.
Yeah.
That makes sense to you. It's like,
no,
yeah. The pace is so fast and furious for what we do that it's like, if we're ever done someday, then maybe I'll reflect on.
Here's the crazy thing. My wife knows our show better than I do, because she actually listens to every episode. Like in the car.
Mandy.
Say hi to Mandy. She listens, and she'll bring up stuff that I forgot about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you remember more about this than I do. Maybe she should come on as a co-host sometime.
But I do think that there's something to the fact that we just immediately go on right to the next one. And tomorrow, we won't be talking at all about this. We'll be talking about, oh my gosh, we have to do another one of these in a couple of days. What the heck are we going to do?
Yeah.
And trying to plan everything out. But great question, and I appreciate you asking it, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper. Well, that is episode 98 of our podcast, the Hockey Cards Gong Show. If you like the episode, please leave a rating, review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, want to chat with us on the daily on the Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server, please consider a $5 a month out of 99 support level tier donation on Patreon. The link is in the show description, whether it be on a podcast app or YouTube, in our Instagram profile, TikTok profile, and our link tree. You can go to the Hockey Cards Gong Show website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and click on the Become a Patron link, or go directly to the Patreon website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and of course, YouTube, because we've talked a lot today. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. Thank you all. It's been great. We will see you again on Thursday.